I want to talk a little bit about Ripple. Ripple just did a move, a huge $3 trillion move that a lot of people aren't talking about. Um, and it's in a lot of times whenever an asset starts to do well, there are these things that happen under the surface. And the thing about we talked about the four phases of the market cycle. We got accumulation, markup, distribution, markdown. Sometimes they're shortened. It could be within a month. It could be within a year. It could be over 5 years. It's a repeating pattern that happens in the market. It could just repeat over and over and over again, or it could repeat over a year. It's a fractal, so it continues to repeat in small amounts, big amounts, or whatever. But just knowing the four phases, they're always the same. Whether it's in a couple of days or a day, it could be over a year, it could be over 10 years. But these phases will continue. So whenever we talk, if you've been following me for over 5 years, you know I've talked about those cycles for over almost 6 years now, because that's the number one thing you have to understand about all of this. If you understand that first, everything else comes easy. Accumulation is when the rich, the elite, and the banks buy up assets. Markup is when they start to go up. The innovators, early adopters, they start realizing they get in early. Distribution is when everybody, including your mama, starts to get in this asset. And markdown is when everybody panics. They got in at that distribution phase and starts selling. And then once it drops, it starts all over again. Accumulation, the rich, the elite, and the banks start buying it again at discount prices. It just keeps going over and over and over again. This applies to real estate, crypto, stocks, forex, everything. Every market. In accumulation, you see weird things happening. The news tells you crypto's dead. Everybody's telling you it's a scam, but Ripple's putting a lot of money into these companies. JP Morgan is doing this. BlackRock is accumulating more. MicroStrategy is accumulating 5% of the Bitcoin float. And you're like, why is this all? Hey, this is weird. Why is the price not moving? That's even more weird. These weird things happen in the accumulation phase while the rich, the elite, and the banks fill their coffers with the asset. And then once they fill it enough to where they say, well, I think we got enough, they can start to allow the asset to go up. That's markup. And that's what's happening right now. That's why we see all these weird things that don't make sense. Why is the price not moving? Trump's meeting with the president. Why is it's because we're in accumulation in a shortened phase, though, over a few months. That's what's happening right now, I believe. So Ripple just spent $1.25 billion to buy a company called Hit and Roll. It's a prime broker that moves $3 trillion a year. It's not a partnership, it's an ownership. Hit and Roll's $10 billion in daily trades will now be moved to start settling on the XRP Ledger. Real institutional money is going to move on the XRP infrastructure. $10 billion a day. RLUSD will be used as collateral across Hit and Roll's products, becoming the first stablecoin to bridge traditional and digital markets with what's called cross-margining. Each trade will be settled on XRPL, and to settle the trade through the XRPL ledger, you'll have to pay a fee in XRP. And each client will need RLUSD, and also to transfer RLUSD, you need XRP. This is a direct built-in demand from major institutions. And it happened over the last few days. Nobody's talking about this. XRPL offers instant low-cost settlements versus the slow, inexpensive traditional system. Ripple is now giving institutions a better option. And it's going to push the price of XRP to that $8 mark. It's going to help. It's not going to be the only factor or catalyst, but it will help. By acquiring an already trusted broker, Ripple instantly gains credibility and access to institutional clients who already move billions and even trillions of dollars. Ripple just positioned XRP and XRPL at the center of where traditional finance and decentralized finance meet. And this is a structural shift. This is not just news. This is not just something. This is actually a big deal. And I'm surprised that nobody's really talking about this. This is the first time this has ever happened where traditional and decentralized finance have a bridge currency or bridge technology in the middle that actually bridges the two. This has never happened before. This is why I believe that XRP is going to that $8 mark. Now, a lot of people say, how is it possible that XRP is going to that amount? How is it possible that Ethereum, which is below 1,600, wherever it's at, is going to get to the 8,000, 10,000 that you said earlier? And we go back to the concept of that anchor bias, right? Is that I still think Ethereum's going. I think XRP is going to 8. I still think Ethereum's going to 8 to 12 before the end of the year. Now, why would I say that? Now, I've been in this a long time. If we look back in history, Bitcoin 2017, beginning of the year, Bitcoin was at $1,000 in January of that year. I remember back then people were saying that's high as Bitcoin can ever get. Bitcoin's upper limit was 1,000 because of market cap, because that would make it more than all these stocks. Bitcoin at 1,000 put it ahead of a lot of the stock market and a lot of brands that you know. The market cap was bigger at $1,000. Right now, Bitcoin's market cap is almost as big as like some huge, almost big, like it's big as most major companies now. But there was at that time it was bigger than like 30% of companies when it reached 1,000. People say there's no way Bitcoin could be worth more than these companies. No way. And they said it was market cap concerns that Bitcoin can never get there. So we got a super chat, XRP ETF, not a US product, not looking good. What do you think? Yeah, there'll be a XRP ETF in the next year. I strongly believe that. And I appreciate the super chat. So Bitcoin was 1,000 in January of 2017. By the end of 2017, it was 20,000. People never would have expected that to happen. A 20 times increase in 1 year. And all we're asking for with XRP is a 4 times increase. All we're asking for with Ethereum is a 5 times. All we ask for Bitcoin is a 3 times increase. It's not even that much. And then people say, well, that was 2017. That's a long time ago. That doesn't happen anymore. I know it's not really a country, but it's still the United States is involved and they allow certain sales to NATO. So they show how serious they are about using advanced tech for military defense. Palantir stock jumped after that announcement. It's up 5% today. Palantir stock jumped over 300% last year, boosted by big defense deals and growing interest in AI. It's one of the only few AI defense companies that actually has contracts with the U.S. government. So I think, like, I've never said that Palantir was not going to do well. It will continue to do well. It's probably something you want to keep in your portfolio. But I just think at this point, after so much growth, it's kind of overvalued. I knew that there would be a drawdown. I think the growth going forward will be slower than other AI stocks like NVIDIA, AMD, other SoundHound even. But I'm not saying it's probably going to be bigger than the average stock in the market. Palantir will probably grow faster than the average stock in the market. That's why I say don't get rid of it. But I'm not adding to it much anymore. I haven't sold my Palantir yet, but I think it's a good thing to hold for. But I think dollars going forward would be better off in something like AMD. AMD right now. AMD was down for a while, and I think AMD was unfairly not added to the AI boom, even though AMD is very similar to NVIDIA. And I don't know, but I just think that they're not as well known. They had some management issues, but I think it's time. AMD's time is this year. Right now it's up 1%. It's at 94.63, but it's been down for the last 6 months. Actually been down, so it's actually an attractive valuation right now, right? So at this point, it actually got up to like 150, and I think we can go back to that. That's why I'm saying is that I think right now you could see a 50 to 60% return on AMD if you're able to get in now. Now, this is not financial advice, but this is something that I'm looking at. So AMD right now is 94. I can see it getting back to 150 by the end of the summer, maybe sometime early fall. Once the market picks back up, once the AI starts picking back up. So I think that could happen. And that's what I'm saying. It's a 54. I don't think Palantir is going to grow that much. It could. I could be wrong. But I just think that the probability-wise, I think AMD has a better shot to get to 150 before Palantir does. And I'm not saying Palantir is bad. Another one I think is Uber. I think Uber has been down very, very undervalued for a long time. Uber has let me see where Uber's at. Uber right now is at 72, right? If we look at year-round, it's actually, let's say year-to-date, it's actually, let's see, 1 year. It has probably for the last 5 years, being honest, if you account for inflation, it's been moving sideways. I mean, it's not really been doing that good. It's up 160%, I guess, but that's because it opened up at 20. That's we're talking about when it dropped down in COVID. But if we look at like Max, it was at 46 in 2019. It's at 72 now. Now, if you adjust that for inflation, it's probably not that. It's not that much. It's 175% all time, but still, if you adjust for inflation, it's probably like 30%. It underperformed the market. The market is 9% a year. So Uber is underperforming the market, even if you don't account for inflation since its inception. But I think that Uber has a big shot coming forward with AI. Now, the reason why I liked Uber is I believe that their biggest problem is the drivers. Now, if you're an Uber driver, I apologize. I'm not trying to put you down. I'm trying to look at things more tech wise, right? Now, I gave an analogy last night. I said, if you're over 40, you remember when Nintendos and VCRs first came out, some of us still had the old TVs. The old TVs did not have a coax cable. You know, the cable that you put on the back and you screw in, and it connects that old cable. They still got them on some TVs. Uh, you use them on cable modems now. They didn't have those. So what they would do is the cable company would give you an adapter. And the adapter looked like a Y, right? So the Y would have these two screw connectors. So you'd put the TVs, the old TVs had 4 screws, like screws you put out. And you had to connect something to the screws and you screw them down. There was a Y thing on there. So you put them on these 2 screws and you screw them down. At the end of the Y was a connector for that cable. It was an adapter. So that was I don't know what it was called, but it was an adapter. So, but that allowed us to use a new technology like Nintendo's VCRs on old TVs. It was an adapter. Now, adapter, as soon as the technology progressed, we didn't need those adapters anymore because TVs now contained the connection for the coax cable or the screw-in cable. That's the same thing that's happening with Uber. Now, think about what an Uber driver is. Now, I'm not putting down an Uber driver, but I'm telling you that this is what it is, like diagram-wise or whatever. All the data is in the phone, and the phone connects to Uber's central systems. That means that a person hails a driver. The servers do their magic with AI. They predict a driver that's close by. You press a button, go get this person. Now your hands are on the mechanical part of the system, and you guide the car to pick this person up. And then you guide the car to drop it off, and you receive a payment for that. With the technology that we have or will have in the next 5 years, why can't they just connect the technology to the steering wheel and remove the driver altogether, which they will do. And they've been working on it for years. Waymo actually does that in California. They're over in California and some other countries, but Waymo doesn't have the footprint that Uber does. So Uber, when they actually move over to completely or slowly or whatever they do it, start migrating over to driverless vehicles, that's when their profits are going to skyrocket. Most of Uber's problem are the drivers. The drivers want more money. The drivers have to be managed. You have to have entire departments to manage the drivers. You have to have compliance departments to manage the drivers. Once the drivers are gone, the profit will increase 40, 50, 60%. And that's when you're going to see the major growth in Uber. Uber is the biggest car service company in the world. It's far bigger than Waymo, far bigger than anything else. And once Uber has all the data, Uber has all the customers, they've actually this has been a strategy of them to lose money or either stay stable for 5 to 10 years. And then once everything's in place, then they strike out and make a lot of money. And that's what Uber is going to be. The Uber is positioned, the only company in the world is positioned to do this. And I believe that the time is over the next year, next 2 years, you're going to see Uber move up a lot as everything starts to converge. Yeah, so Bitcoin right now is hovering around, right now, I don't know if you can see the chart, but Bitcoin right now is hovering around 84, 85,000. It's trading slightly down from the recent high of 85,763. There's a lot, the technical indicators say that there's weak but stabilizing momentum. Bitcoin is testing a double resistance. At the same time right now, you see the yellow and blue lines. The yellow trend line has been resistance the whole way down. The blue line has been the support the whole way down. Now, if Bitcoin breaks above that current top line, it'll be huge for the crypto market, and it will be the trigger for another bull run on the way to 100,000. Now, the tariffs are causing a lot of problems, uncertainty in the market, a lot of doubt, a lot of fear, and it always causes markets to go down. So people are a little bit scared. They don't know what to expect. Even me, like I was at an event the day before yesterday on Saturday. People coming up to me. I spoke on the stage. Came up to me afterwards and said, Armando, what do you think about the market? And I've always been honest with you guys. I try to be as honest as I can. And they say, Armando, what's going on? I said, I don't know. I can't tell you. I know you could tell me, I know where everything's going to be at 6 months from now. I know where everything's going to be at a year from now. But for the next month, 2 months, 3 months, it all depends on the United States policy. Now, if the policy is not, if the tariff wars continue or they escalate, or if things get worse, if China doesn't relent, Trump doesn't relent, yeah, things will get worse and we'll probably go into a recession. It may even kill the bull market in both stocks and crypto. But what's most likely to happen is that it'll be kind of crazy for both countries to do that to themselves. So I believe that there'll be some type of agreement, and when that agreement comes, the markets will rebound sometime in the summer, right? So it's going to be a rough month, probably a month of April and probably most of May. June, we may start seeing some rebounding. In May, we'll start seeing the crypto market come back. We'll start seeing stocks come back.